Ho, ho, ho!
Nice cannonball, Santa. Welcome to the Pool Nation podcast, where it's all pool talk, and we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing, unless it's the reindeer. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. We talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Now let's welcome your host, with over a decade of industry insider experience and still the reigning champion of Marco Polo. It's undecided if he's on the naughty or nice list. Edgar De Jesus and his co-host, JJ Flawless and Zach the Pool Boy Nicholas.
Welcome to the Pool Nation Live podcast. My name is Spider the DJ, coming at you live from MZ Studios, my second home. This week and last week has been my first home. John, I'm taking over this intro to teach Edgar how it's done. You know how we do it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm your host, Spider, and yes, I am the reigning champion of Marco Polo, along with John JJ Flawless, fastest netter in the West, and the famous Zach the Pool Boy Nicholas. Today, we're talking to the ladies behind Pool Nation. We are joined by Leanne De Jesus, Leslie Nicklas, and Janie Flawless. I want to welcome everyone to our podcast. Wait, I didn't put any claps on here. Sorry. The podcast where it's all pool talk, and we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. And yes, we will talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Before we get started today, I would like to thank our sponsors for this podcast: Ultimate Pool Tools, the SPPA, PoolInvoice.com, Blu-ray XL, Aquastar Pool Products, and Pivot Pool Products. We want to thank them for their continued support. What do you think?
Wow. Now look. Dude, Edgar's been doing this for over 2 years and he can't get it. You nailed it first crack. And what's even funnier too is it's not like he even sent it to you in preparation, right? He literally just handed it to you and you knocked it out the park. Edgar's feeling pretty nervous right now.
I think I'm going to get replaced out of this podcast. This is the way they were
first
rolling.
Zach got replaced. Now you're getting replaced.
Man,
It's going to be all women.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this screen and I look
Spider
like
among women.
I see my picture like fading away. Just in the we're
Yeah, it's
watching
kind
a
of
screen.
like Back to the Future.
Yes. I'm kind of fading quickly out there.
Yep.
Plus, not only that, Spider, but I'm sure everybody would rather listen to the girls than listen to us, right, John?
Oh, most definitely.
I'm with you there.
I appreciate that, Spider. John, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm full. I had to.
We do nothing but feed John when he comes to Texas.
Well,
Just
look.
disclaimer.
So Leanne gave me a clue and said that Tenders just opened up on the 380, which is about 5 minutes away from the house that we bought, and that they have breakfast tacos. And I thought Tenders was, more of like a dinner thing, but sure as hell they open up at 7 o'clock in the morning and they make these bomb tacos for $3, where you can pick it's bacon and egg with cheese, and then you get to pick whether you want sausage with it or brisket with it or bacon with it. And I think we bought like 8 tacos this morning, and then like a sandwich. And apparently Edgar and Jaden do not eat in the morning, so I had to consume twice as many tacos as I was planning on consuming. Right, I had to.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling it now, but I'm full and content. And again, I always love being out here in the studio. This is pretty nice. And Spider, just love the ambiance and if you guys can't see it right now, but there's a cool sofa right there, and there's some Christmas decorations, and then there's a fireplace, like a lit up fireplace on an LCD screen. So it's pretty cozy and nice and warm in here because it is butt cold outside right now.
I was trying to trick myself into thinking it was warm in here. That's why we got the red lights and everything.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
It works for me.
it's great in here because we come from where we're at right now. It's dead of winter and it's 75 degrees, and we're here and it's literally like 30 degrees or maybe 10 degrees with wind chill. I don't know what it is, but it's cold, man.
It's cold.
I'm freezing my ass off.
So now you guys know what it is that I always complain about when I say it's cold, right? Like, you believe me now?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It is cold.
Yeah.
Y'all get snow up there occasionally, don't y'all?
It's rare, but we do.
But
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We got it in the last couple of years.
Looking
That's
forward to it.
nice.
So, Leanne, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. You excited to be here?
Always.
Always.
I love getting this invitation. I'm always in.
Always in. Leslie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
We're super, super excited to have you on. And I have to tell you, you hung out with us in Vegas. And was she awesome or what? We're like, okay, Leslie like totally needs to hang out with us more often.
Oh, dude,
Absolutely.
She was a
amazing.
hoot.
Absolutely.
So,
Have fun with y'all.
here's the thing. Zach is always telling us, oh, well, she can't make it, or oh, she's busy. I'm not gonna stop asking him because I asked him, will she be on the podcast? He's like, oh no, she won't be able to do it. She's not gonna want to do it. Get the invitation. Yep, she's coming. And it's like every time.
You guys.
Every time it's the same thing. He always like, no, she can't make it. And then every time we ask her, she's like,
Let's go
I'm in.
for it.
Let's do it. So, Janie, how are you?
I am wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm in Texas. It's my happy place.
And you're beautiful too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, handsome.
Easy there. There's a child in the room. people.
Look, I have to say because
We have a child over there.
I just want to make it very clear because I'm sitting. For some reason, Edgar insists that we sit next to each other when we do these podcasts right here, and his leg keeps rubbing up against me right now, and it's making me a little uncomfortable.
Again, child in the room.
Keep your hands on the table.
They're going to slowly
Edgar.
get further and further apart as we go.
I wish you could see my
We'll see
poor son's
John.
face over there. He's just like disturbed over here listening to this podcast. So, poor guy. So, for everybody listening, Zach was not able to join us today. John, and I had a choice between him and Leslie, and it was hands down, Leslie. So that was a no-brainer. So, anyways, Zach, we're just kidding. So Zach's out there this morning. He's taking care of the kids. He's taking them to what is it? Christmas
Winter
in
Wonderland.
It's the Winter Wonderland Festival at the school, I think is like the official name of it. Apparently it's the social event for my daughter. And so she's very excited about it. So he's going to have to keep track of her and our son and the little baby. And he's having a great time, I'm sure, right now.
No sarcasm there.
Who are you kidding? We all know the truth, Leslie. You have a honey-do list ready for him, right? That he has to accomplish and complete by the end of the day.
No,
So
that's
it's
not how
crunch.
it goes.
It's crunch time. Huh?
She's got him with the backpack and the baby in the front and
The
the little
Bajorn,
baby.
the Bajorn, right? Is that what it's called? I have
baby
one.
formula and
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's
He's probably got his earbuds in right now, like listening and
Yeah.
everything, trying to like wrankle everybody.
Yeah.
he's Mr. Dad right
that's
now.
awesome.
Mr. Dad. He does legit have a honey-do list, but he's
See, told you.
he gets very mad when I bring it up. But he has just this like ever-growing list of things.
Yeah, we all have them. Trust me.
So you know what you can do is if you give me that honeydew list, I will add it to the script every week,
Yep.
and every week we'll try to find out whether that list has been accomplished or not for you.
Funny.
Oh,
good.
like a beeping smoke alarm?
Wow. Janie coming in hot.
Oh, she
On the
did.
left.
This,
Go, girl.
this came up on a show I was on last week, and I was like, those things beep for like a year and a half or something like that. If you think if it didn't beep so much, it would last a lot longer.
You're right,
Right?
right. So the battery's obviously good in
The
it,
beep,
right?
the beep goes on.
But here's the thing. So about 6 weeks ago on an Instagram live, that thing started beeping. And Leanne, you think that I'm bad? We did it on Wednesday and it was still beeping in the background.
Oh, hell no.
It's
No.
still beeping right now.
Look, being married,
That's
right?
why you're in Texas, right? It's beeping in California.
Look, there's a talent that us men develop over the years being married, right?
please
It's
tell
called
us the
selective.
talent.
It's selective hearing,
Uh-huh.
right?
Absolutely.
So we get to tune out noise to your left, right? So we can focus and still get our work done, but we tune out the noise. And fortunately, this smoke alarm is in the kids' bedroom, and the kids haven't even said anything. So it must be hereditary because they've acquired that gift as well.
They don't even ask about
Yeah,
it.
we
Just chirp.
chirp.
No.
part
I
of
think my
life.
kids would probably run downstairs in a panic saying the house is on fire and run out the back door or something crazy. There would be no ignoring it.
No.
It would be a big ruckus.
That's
For sure.
awesome.
Too funny.
That's awesome. So you got to make sure that you send that honeydew list, and we'll get that going. So Leslie, we haven't had a chance to talk to you since the awards, and I think that's because Zach buffers that. I think he keeps her away from us. But we were all talking
Filter.
about it.
Right.
We were talking about it at dinner the other night, but you just absolutely looked amazing at the awards.
Oh.
You were
Yes.
stunning.
Stunning.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
I felt a little out of my element, but
and-
thank you.
I heard that you looked so stunning that Captain America had a big crush on you. Is that true? I mean, that was a
That-
rumor.
not
A little
random.
birdie came and told me.
Not the worst of the superheroes. Yeah, I'd be shooting for Thor, but Captain America.
That was, like,
Not
perfect.
bad.
He's
He's a good second choice.
Not bad.
So, do you want to tell me the story of Captain America and on the strip?
You know what happened with that? We were just meandering down the strip, minding our own business.
She
and there's
lightly says, yeah.
a group of superhero people. I don't know, but I was kind of offended at first because he's like asked me if I was selling something or something along those lines. And I mean, you're in Vegas, so you take that a little differently. I was like, I'm hitting on you. I was like, that's a terrible way to go about it. And then we kept bumping into him a couple more times or something. And
He was
Zach
following you.
Great.
Oh my
Yeah, he's like,
God.
great. Now I'm gonna have to fight Captain America. For the kids,
But John, it was a classic because we were walking back on the strip. So we had already seen the superheroes. He had already like hit on her, and it was like very blunt, very. So we're
Very
walking.
obvious.
We're walking back, and Zach and I stopped and got a coffee at a Dunkin' Donuts, and we're walking out. And right as we start walking out, John, here comes Leslie
Captain
over to the
America.
left, and Captain America's going straight at her. And he just looks straight at her, like deep in the eyes, and goes, anything for you, baby.
No.
That's like-
Just like that.
For real?
Just like that. Huh, Leslie?
Yeah, it was a little awkward.
It was
awkward.
it was awkward
So, like,
and
I'm here
creepy.
with my husband
But
in a
then,
big white coat. Like, I'm not like showing out or anything. It was really random.
but then again, it was
Wow.
Captain America.
It was Captain
so if
America.
anybody's gonna hit on you, it might as well be Captain America.
Yeah, I mean,
Anything.
can't beat that.
Yeah, definitely.
Poor Zach.
Welcome to Vegas.
That's what's going on, Zach. But Zach was there, and Zach heard it because Zach was next to me. Zach was on my left. Leslie was to
Yeah.
the left
He's
of
like,
that.
"Can I get a
and-
picture?"
I'm taking a picture with them.
And your autograph?
Oh, that would have been absolutely amazing. So, John,
That was my
go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
No,
That
I
was
was gonna say that's my first time in Vegas, and it was fun at first, and then it kind of got old after a while.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a place to visit, not really to stay. But just
Mhm.
like any place, there's always like a downtown and a crazy kind of area. But there's,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
when you get into the suburbs of Vegas, there's some really nice spots out there.
I can do about 3 days and I'm done.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
broke
That's about
after.
right.
I can do about
True.
2 days and I'm broke.
yeah, that's a lot.
It is not forgiving.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Zach
for
is
sure.
Zach is saying over here that he was not going to fight Captain America. So,
He's like, thanks.
yeah.
Right.
Hey, he'll go bragging to everybody that my wife is so beautiful that Captain America was hitting on her.
I was gonna say he's taking it. He's not taking it as a
No.
as a challenge. He's taking it as a bragging right.
as a
It's
bragging right.
Yeah.
Compliment.
Yeah, he's not a fighter. He'll probably be the last person you ever see get in a fight, I would imagine.
So, hey, John, we normally have a whole bunch of housekeeping notes, and it was crazy because as we get close to the awards, we've kind of have this laundry list that I feel like goes for like
Yeah.
20 minutes before we were able to start anything. And so we don't have a lot of them today, but I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors for the podcast and for the awards. And I need to give a big, huge shout out to Hasa. They have just been absolutely phenomenal, amazing. Terry, Rick, Chris, everybody out there, big, huge shout out to you. If it wasn't for you guys, we would not be able to put those awards together. I want to thank the SPPA, the Ultimate Pool Tools, our friend Chris at Blu-ray, Aquastar Pool Products, Pivot Pool Products. I want to give a shout out to Leslie Pro, Heritage Pool Supply Group, Pool Pro Magazine, and Natural Chemistry. So, all right, for everybody listening, we're going to do a little bit of a different podcast today. We're kind of getting towards the end of the year, and I kind of thought that it would be neat. Okay, I'm going to confess, it was Leanne's idea. I was going to take credit for it, but it was Leanne's idea.
If it was, I forgot.
No, I was gonna-
you
I
can
was
have
gonna
the
take-
credit.
I was
Don't
gonna
worry,
take
it happens
credit.
all the time. I can tell you how many times Edgar and I talk on the phone, and we have come up with stuff from like years ago, and we talk, and we're like, yeah, oh yeah, and then 2 years later, he's the type who goes, what do you think about this? And I go, dude, we talked about that like last year, bro, and you thought it was stupid, and then now you think it's a good idea.
I go, you got to give it to me in writing because I
right,
forget.
right.
Don't do that. Don't have a conversation
Ginkgo-
with me.
ginkgo
And-
biloba.
Yeah.
Ginkgo biloba.
So, anyway, so we're going to do a little bit of a different podcast today. And what we want to do is we want to talk to the women behind Pool Nation and everything that we've done. And so what I thought that we would do is we would kind of get a little bit of their thoughts and kind of go back in time talking about how it was at the beginning when we started. And if they ever kind of thought that it would be what it is today, John, where we're at and with all the things that we want to do. So, Leanne, I'm going to start with you because I want to go way back in time to when I started to do those first Instagram lives. And, do you remember when I started those Instagram lives? And at that point, did you give that any thought at that time? Or were you just kind of going, oh, here goes my crazy husband, just kind of playing, doing some other stuff? Because excuse me, at home everybody calls it playing. So what do you do for what does my dad do for a living? Oh, he just plays with his friends online all day. That's what I do, John. Just to let you know, that's what I do. I do brag though when they kind of get cocky and get arrogant, and I'm like, who has the most followers? None. Get out. So, but what was that like? Tell us a little bit about that.
So to tell that story, I have to go back a little bit further in time just to lay some groundwork. So I'm going to go back to when Edgar first came to me. I met Edgar in the hotel industry, and he was an executive in the hotel industry with me and blah, blah, blah. And then he came to me one day and he says, I think I'm going to open a pool business. And I stopped in my tracks because for those of you that don't know us as a couple, and I often say this, Edgar is a much better husband than I am a wife. I always give him that credit because he is. He's a much better husband than I'm a wife. So I had to stop myself in my tracks and go, okay, here's your chance. Be a good wife. Shut up. Don't tell him that's a stupid idea. He doesn't know anything about pools. He doesn't know. That's just be support. I'm like, okay. Oh, really? Okay. So I thought he wanted to start his own business, maybe web design, because he was toying around with some of that in the background and things like that. But no, he thought he'd start a pool business. And I was like, well, okay, good. How does that work? Where do you start? What do you do? And we had a neighbor that was, had his own pool business, but he also had a stay-at-home wife, and they had one child. And here I was, not a stay-at-home wife, and I had more than one child. And so I had to make it clear, I'm not doing this with you. I can't stay home and do the billing. I can't know all the customers like my neighbor did. I can't do that. You're on your own. He's like, nope, it's good. I got this. I'm like, all right. And I was trying to be the quiet, supportive wife, fully expecting it to not go well. And then in a short time, he had this huge route, a bunch of employees, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I kept my mouth shut. he pulled it off. Okay, he pulled it off. And then the next time came when, he wanted to do, the Instagrams, and I'm like, what do you know about that? I'm just going to start looking. And he starts researching. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was my next opportunity to shut up and just be the supportive wife, again, fully expecting it to not go far. And then all of a sudden he was telling me about how people were kind of pushing him to do a podcast. And he's like, I'm not going to do this on my own. I'm going to see if, a couple of these guys he's been talking to want to do it with him. And I'm like, okay. And I am zero social media, so I really didn't understand what that outreach would be. And so again, I tried to play the part of this supportive wife, and then here comes the Instagram, and then we were watching followers too, right? And it was funny because then the kids were almost embarrassed. They're like, God, Dad's going to be Insta famous. Do you see how he's growing? Like he had street cred with the kids all of a sudden, right? And I'm like, it's foreign to me. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I distinctly remember that blowing up, right? And we would be places and people would recognize him. And I'm like, okay, this is just really weird. And then he came to me and said, oh, think about we might do some pool awards. And I was like, what? Because that just seemed really odd to me. Because again, in typical male fashion, I'm just going to give myself a little defense here. In typical male fashion, they don't give you details, right, ladies? Like they just throw
Never.
something out there.
Never.
Like I'll even ask you when you guys are coming. I'm like, so when are they coming? I don't know. Well, what's the plans? I don't know. I haven't talked to John yet. Well, did you talk to John? Yeah. What are the plans? I don't know. And it's still like, you know, we're girls. We know. We want details. Like I would actually probably know what Janie was wearing when she steps off the plane. Like it's one of those kind of things where they just don't give you any details. So
I'll ask him. He's like, I don't know. Ask Edgar.
Yeah.
I ask Edgar. He's like, oh, that's a good question.
So you know, he gives me. I think we'll do some awards. That's all I got. So again, trying to be supportive and quiet. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm thinking 3. You know, like best this, best that, and best that. Or, you know, first place, second place, third place. Like not, how many do you do?
24.
24 last year.
Right. Wow. So I was like, when he told me it was like more than 5, I was like, oh, Edgar, I don't think that you should do that many. Like that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But then later he finally starts to give a little bit of detail that I need. You know, pool girl, pool boy, pool, filter and, you know, all this. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes, because to me, it's all one thing, but it's really not.
Yeah.
So once he starts giving me details, and then when I saw the first awards, it started to make a lot of sense because this is an industry where people work their tails off and they're not recognized, right? When you're a single pole person and you're out there doing it, nobody knows that you're doing a great job except your customers, right? Yep. So it really made sense after I started getting more details that a woman requires to make an educated decision or opinion. So yeah, it really, really blew up, and it was shocking to me. But then again, as time went on and it made more sense, it's like, okay, that really makes sense. And then you see the companies that have jumped on, because I remember when you had your first sponsor. And it was so exciting. It was exciting when you had your first conversation with Bob Lowry. I swear, Edgar looked like a 5-year-old and caught Santa down by the fireplace. I mean, he did. He's like, I'm talking to Bob Lowry. I'm going to have a call with him. And we talked about that. And then another day, he's like, Bob Lowry called me. He was like this little kid running around. And suddenly the whole house knew who Bob Lowry was because Edgar was like this kid. So it was fun to watch this thing sort of, you know, come up and really form and develop. But it was, I think my place was really to kind of watch and support from the background and kind of give you a little nudge here and there where I had an opinion or a suggestion. But I think what surprised me the most was all the friendships that have come out of it. Like, you know, Zach and John first and foremost, right? And then, you know, Janie and Leslie, when we all get together, it's a hoot and we just, you know, love those friendships. But then all of the friendships that you've built in the industry, because you got true friends, you know, Brian from Hayward and just all these people that just step up and lend a helping hand. And it's true friends that are just want everybody to do well and support. And I just loved watching that camaraderie. So I think that's the thing that shocks me the most. So yeah, first I was completely in the dark and didn't have a clue what this was going to be. And then over time, it's just been really impressive to watch it.
I do have to tell you this, John. So I took Sienna once to the orthodontist and we walk in. And so it's just an open room and there's all the chairs, right? The orthodontist has, I don't know.
Wait, for people that don't know, we live in Prosper and it is a small town. It's a sleepy town. It's really small. Love it. Right. But it's small.
Yeah.
It's not like any big, you know, it's not Dallas.
So everybody, a lot of the kids, they all know each other and stuff. So anyways, we walk in and I go in with Sienna. And so there's the chair for the patient. And then there's a little chair for you to sit down, the parents. And I go and I sit there and they come in, they check our teeth and then they come out and then the orthodontist comes out and he's sitting there. And all of a sudden he looks up and he looks at me and he goes, I know you. You're Insta famous.
No way.
And all of a sudden,
She was horrified.
all of a sudden, all the kids in the chairs go, whoop, and they all look, and they all start looking at me, and all they see is like this old guy, right?
Yeah.
So they're thinking, Insta famous, who is it, right?
Wow.
Oh my God.
And then he's like, I see you on Instagram. You do those lives, and you talk about pools, don't you? Sienna was petrified. She has never, ever since that day allowed me to go into the orthodontist with her.
Oh my
She
God.
makes me sit in the car.
That's hilarious.
He sits in the car.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is awesome. So,
So, did you ladies ever think a couple years later that we'd all be here doing this podcast?
Definitely
No.
not. And I know, and Leslie, you might remember this too. When you guys first came out for a visit, how much Edgar and I were trying to convince everybody to move right here, right? So
Mhm.
definitely didn't think that you guys would be in homeowners that fast in Texas.
That's
That
so
was
crazy.
amazing.
Right?
Isn't that crazy? So
We didn't
no.
waste any time.
No, you didn't. We laid it. Edgar should get royalties from at
Prosper.
least Collin County
Yeah.
or something,
Right.
because man, he laid it on thick and just sold them.
so
I remember Zach, I think he sat on a bucket, if I can remember correctly, on the very first live that he did with you about our pricing. Because we were like $219.99 a month or something, and everybody's minds just exploded over that rate.
Yeah.
How many lives had you done before that first one?
I would probably say maybe like 15.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been kind of, because Zach was like, I'm going on this live, and he was so nervous. He's like, it's with this guy Edgar, and I'm like, Leanne, like, I'm not on social media. Like, I might post a couple pictures a year. Like, I don't look at everybody's followers and everything. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, good job.
She's like,
Have fun.
"How
And he's like,
cute."
so, yeah, he's like so nervous. Well, the first time he talked about the awards, I was like, oh, that's fun. There's gonna be so many people there. I'm like, there's nobody's gonna come to this thing. It's gonna be this tiny little thing in my mind,
embarrassing.
but I'm not telling him that. Then I get there, I'm like, oh, this is a big deal. Having to like not cry when the guys are on stage. I'm so proud of y'all, but I was just in the beginning, I was like, oh, awards.
Right.
Okay, babe, like nobody's gonna go to that,
That's
But it was
awesome.
really, I was biting my tongue and like, okay, don't say anything. I'm glad like Liam that I didn't, because I was like, oh, this is
I'm glad there's video. That was awesome.
And,
I love it.
when
I love
Edgar
it.
told me that first time that Janie had to fight people off at the door because they were trying to like
Yes.
muscle their way in.
It was intense.
I'm like, what? And poor Janie having
was
to fight
intense.
them off.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
But I
I was
do
like, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry.
I
No.
do have to tell you, Janie, for the first year, you were like the perfect. I'm not kidding.
Oh,
you
yeah.
were the perfect person to be at that door because
She's sweet.
you're
Thank you,
sweet,
thank you,
but
thank
yet at
you.
the same time, when you're like, no, it's like no. There's no.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a no, but let me work my way in. Yeah, she's just very no.
I think people are maybe taken aback because she's so sweet and so pretty and she's all nice and she's like, no. They're like, no. I don't even have to argue with this. Like, I'm just
They're
gonna
like,
try to
what?
walk away,
I
Like,
think a
the
couple
lady told me
people.
no.
Yeah, they were like, really? I'm like, yeah, no.
No entry. She has the talent for getting like the most beautiful dress, and she looks so beautiful, but she's got the craziest shoes on, and you would never
Oh,
know
when
it.
she
Like,
let
they're
it out of the
perfect.
Oh,
bag.
yes.
Oh, I was with her when she bought the crazy shoes. So first she buys
Mhm.
the elegant pair that looked gorgeous, and I'm like, oh my god, you can totally pull those off. Those are stunning.
She's
And
like,
then
"Yeah,
we
I'm
find
not."
matching sparkly Crocs. And it's like, well, when these get too much, I'm going to put these on. And then when they showed up here this week, I'm like, so how long did the fancy shoes last? She goes, never put them on once. I just wore the Crocs. I'm like,
And it was
of course you did.
it was
Yeah.
glorious.
Yeah.
My feet were so happy.
They're so comfy the
Sparkly
whole time.
Crocs.
Yeah, best decision. Best decision.
Absolutely. So, Janie, did you ever think we'd be here after all these years?
Actually, I'm the opposite. I was like, hell yeah, this is fantastic. Awards, let's go, let's do it. This is gonna be great. The industry needs this. You guys are fantastic. You guys have great chemistry. I was like, I could just see it exploding. So
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
True
The
story.
perfect
Yeah.
supporting wife.
I was the opposite. I was like, what's this dude? Edgar?
This guy's
Yeah.
suspicious.
He
He's like,
keeps asking me to talk to him on, face to face on this social media thing.
I remember it was boring, and he was like,
Yeah.
he wants me to go on the Instagram Live. Should I do this? And I'm like, absolutely, you're gonna be fantastic. You need to get on there. And he's like, yeah, okay. And he did it, and it was great. And then I can't remember how long after that, and he was like, he wants to do a podcast, and me and Zach and him, and should we do it? And I'm like, hell yeah, you should do it. Absolutely, you should do it.
I I think it's been Janie all along that's pushed John to do all this
Here's
stuff.
Leslie and I. At least we're confessing, Leslie, right? Like we're like, oh no.
And
But
I'll
I felt
confess.
terrible. I'm like, felt like the super unsupportive. Like, in my mind. And for Zach, like this was like kind of a dream of his. Like I remember being pregnant with Roman, and I think it was don't curse me for saying this, but I think it was Pool Chasers that he like listened to and followed.
Oh, yeah.
And
I listened
there
to
were
him.
a
I
couple
still
of
listen to him.
companies that and he was just like so excited about just them having this podcast. And it was like he's always been very, very into it and stuff. And so all along he's like chasing his dream. And I'm like, oh great, like gonna go very far, you know. And he's like, Edgar has all these followers and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, we're like just not really paying a whole lot of attention to it. Like I listen to his podcast when he can, but it's like his thing. Like it's his baby and his dream, and that's great. But I'm just kind of like on the back end, not really realizing how big it is, you know, and how many people y'all reached. Did I interrupt you? I'm so sorry.
No, but I don't
No,
think
love
anything
it.
is gonna beat her facial expression.
No.
I
No,
know. This
I
is
love
great.
it.
Like, you're
This
just
is great.
fantastic on video. I
Yeah.
think the one thing that struck me from Zach's perspective too is that, you know, he's a bit of an introvert, but he forces himself to learn and grow and develop. And so I've liked watching Zach really get out of his comfort zone and do some of this stuff. And Zach and I have had a lot of conversations about his business and things like that. But it's like I love watching him get out of his comfort zone, and the fact that he really, you know, puts
He's
himself
really
out
good at
there.
it.
Yeah, no, and we
He's
keep telling
really
that
good
we're
at
like, you're really
speaking.
good at it.
You would never know that he's as
Yeah.
nervous as he is.
Yeah.
Because he just pulls it off
He
every time.
did not study as much. He still certainly did and had his speech like printed out and carried around with him and stuff. But he didn't study as much as he did last year. And I feel like
He's
was-
growing. Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely, I don't know, coming into his own, or however you would say it. Like
Yeah.
he thrives in this sort of thing. And I think he's doing really well. And y'all do too. Y'all are all great at it. It's just this cool little dynamic to watch y'all just grow together and
Look, I'm gonna
become the best friends that you've become.
full disclosure here. We can give Zach some credit, but we're not going to give him that much credit, because the truth is, this
Hold on.
year
It's too much.
he knew that they were going to do the same thing they did to me last year. Right? Last year was kind of up in the air. He didn't know we didn't know who was going to kind of really do what. We were all putting our heads together trying to figure it out. And at it was like an audible at the end. And they said, okay.
We went to the huddle.
And then they go, no, okay. And then they both exited the stage and left me on stage to do all the talking. And then this year they said, okay, we're going to do the same thing again. So Zach felt a little better about it. Right. So I think that's what gave him that comfort. But
So I think Zach's been like all in on this thing for a long time, much longer than I realized that it was like this big deal. Like I remember standing in the kitchen and we were talking about having a baby. Are we going to have another baby? What are we going to do? And he's like, now listen, I've got the Pool Nation Awards coming up.
I love Zach.
Like,
Zach, I
is
love
this
you.
Really, like, make it or break it, we're gonna have a baby, or the Pool Nation Awards. Like, I'm just saying, I can't miss
Awesome.
it. I'm like, okay, I'll try to keep that in mind. You know, like,
I'll write that on my
time.
calendar.
He's like, are you for real? Are you for real?
Yeah. And I'm just like, really? Baby or Pool Nation Award? We managed to have both of them. He was upset about missing the show,
In March.
the Western. Yeah. So he's very adamant. No more missing shows. And that's really cool. The training, that's what I can't wrap my head around, is how far y'all have come, like all the training. And then the jacket thing, I was super surprised by that. I was like, that's so cool. And I'm like, you didn't tell me about that. He's like, Edgar said not to say anything. I'm like, oh.
Leslie,
know.
I am going to give you all the street cred because I've been so excited about the Pool Nation Hall of Fame, like super excited about it. And I go to Zach and John and I'm like, guys, I have an idea. And I'm sure by now,
There he
like
goes
they're,
again.
I'm sure by
There he
now,
goes
they're-
again. That was my
I
idea.
love that.
I'm sure by now they're tired of me going, I have an idea. They both roll their eyes, right? They're like, here we go again. And I'm super excited about it. And everybody that I talked about it, they're like, oh yeah, good idea. Yeah, that looks good.
That's
And
cute.
Leslie's been the only one that's been like all fired
Poor
up and
Leanne.
all,
That was really cool.
rah, rah,
Well, they
rah.
all knew about it. Maybe it was the element of surprise that did it.
You
'Cause
think
I
so?
was legit like, what is this? What is he doing? Like, I haven't heard nothing about this.
Well,
Zach's
you know
like,
what? If that's the case, Zach and John, you guys need to act a little bit more
I
surprised,
will.
okay?
You're not sufficiently surprised.
Yes. Yes. So
I think it's funny. My daughter, as she continues to listen and kind of get involved and hear about more of what we're doing, and she's like, "You need to tell the family more about this. You need to tell the boys about this. Do they know
They
you're in
don't
a
know anything.
magazine? Do they know that you guys are on the cover? Do they know what you do? Do they know how
They
many
know
followers
y'all
you
are a
guys have? Like, you guys
big
are a
deal."
big deal. You need to tell people about this." She's like, "We should know. You need to, get the word out." And I'm like,
You need to be able to brag about you
Yeah,
guys.
and I'm like,
you know?
oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how my kids' friends know, but they'll put something in the chat, and I'm like, and my daughter will say, "Dad, you didn't recognize so and so," or that, and it's like, your friends are watching. Like, what?
Right?
Why are teenagers?
That's cool.
But yeah, friends are doing it.
But I
Yeah.
have to tell you, John, I don't know if it's in your house, but there's nothing that will keep you more humble than your kids.
Oh, for sure.
Like your kids will keep you so humble. Like, as a matter of fact, I have Jaden here, and he's in the studio, and you can tell he's probably sitting over there just ready to go to sleep. Over
Right.
there, like
So not
yeah,
cool,
no,
Dad.
yeah, no interest. Yeah,
Right,
no,
not cool, Dad.
Not cool.
Like, you're very boring, Dad.
Yeah.
I don't have time
Right.
for this.
Yeah.
I thought
Tristan is probably Zach's biggest fan. Like, she wears the Pool Nation shirt. She just got her first phone,
That's
which is very
awesome.
scary, on Monday. And the first thing she did was listen to a podcast.
Oh,
How cool is that?
That
That
is
is awesome.
sweet.
You know what,
That is
Tristan?
awesome.
Shout out for today goes out to Tristan. She is number
Yeah.
one fan. Shout out for you out here today.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
That's great.
So we fast forward to the day we talked about doing a podcast. Do you ladies remember that? And what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't that. I mean, I remember it, but again, I'm so not social media. So I was just kind of going, okay, let me know how that goes. Now, but truth be told, even from the Instagrams and then ultimately the podcast, I always was curious, what are you going to talk about this week? So I'd always ask him that. And sometimes I'd have to ask him a couple times because I'd forget. But what are you going to talk about? And then once he was done, I would wait because after he's done, he has phone calls after the,
Yep.
Yes.
you gotta
Yep.
wait for them all three to call,
Yeah.
powwow together.
Have their girl talk.
Have their girl talk because they do. They get together and have their little
Yeah,
girl talk. And,
Wow.
and it took me a while to figure out that's what they were doing. I'm like, I thought that was only an hour, and it's like been an hour and 45 minutes. Well, I was on with John and I was on with Zach. And I'm like, oh, so it's the call after the call. Okay, I got it.
Yes.
So then once I figured that had to happen, because I won't see him until he, gets Zach and John out of his system a little bit. Then he comes downstairs and I'm like, so how'd it go? How was it? And I'm like, how are the chats? How many people would you have? And then I
Yeah.
became interested, but it was, I didn't understand a lot about it from the beginning.
Yeah.
I do have to say, probably Jaden is probably my biggest fan after the Instagram lives because every time he's like knows it's done, he always comes down. Dad, how'd it go?
Awesome.
No, how'd it go?
That's usually when you guys finish, John comes out, how was it? It was great. He's like, you always say it was great. He's like, come on now. Was it really? I'm like, it was fantastic. I'm being serious.
They're
And then the
fun
phone
to
rings.
listen
There's
to.
Edgar.
Like, I've listened to a couple other podcasts, and I'm not a big podcast person, so I obviously don't have a whole lot of experience in this. But I listened to a couple, and they're very dry, and I'm like, yeah, I can't listen to that. It's usually something Zach recommends. It's like, it's not a whole thing. But you guys, y'all are fun to listen to. Y'all are
Yeah.
engaging. Y'all's dynamic is always interesting. So I think even if y'all don't even have like a lot of like, not to say y'all's material isn't interesting, but some super interesting material that day, like y'all make it, y'all make the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious. I'm usually just cracking up, and it's just like the best time. You feel like you're in the conversation with you guys, especially with the chat and stuff. Like when I
Mhm.
listen to it, if I miss one or if it's not live and I have to go listen to it off Apple, and I always want to go and like start making comments. I'm like, oh shit, it's not live. I can't say anything. Like laughing. I'm like, oh, I can't say anything.
Well, and I
Yeah.
don't typically listen. I'll listen to some of them when he's got something on there that I want to go
Yeah.
back and listen to because I'm not in the pool business, obviously. But I wanted to watch the awards because I couldn't go to the awards because I had to stay home with the kids. And
We missed you so much.
Thank
I
I
know.
was so
Thank you.
sad that you weren't there.
I have to go
know.
to the next one. I absolutely have to. But I couldn't go to this one as my mom was not in
Yeah.
good health, and then my kids. Edgar had to have a lot of kids, so there's a bunch of kids. Somebody's got to take care of them. So I had to stay back and do that. But I wanted to watch, and he sends me this link from YouTube because I don't have social media, right? And I'm trying not to bother him because I know he's gearing up because they're getting ready to get started. And I'm like, it's not working. It's not working. And then I'm trying to be like, again, sportive wife and not go, God damn it, it's not
Right.
working. And so my daughter comes in and she's like, "Did you hear what Dad said?" And then my other daughter texts me and said, "Dad didn't do this," and or somebody mocked her or whatever because she said, "Hey, Dad," or something. Somebody mocked her in the chat or something, and I'm like, "How are you guys seeing this? I need to be able to see it." So my daughter jumped up on my bed, signed me up for Instagram. I now have, I think, an Instagram. I don't know, but
You're like, I've got
but
something.
that way I was able to watch the whole thing, and I watched it all the way to the end, which was like midnight in
Yeah.
Texas. And it was gorgeous. Like it went,
Mhm.
it was legit beautiful. Everybody did an amazing job. The presenters did great. Like it was really cool. And so, I ended up with Instagram that night so that I could stay up and watch it. But it's so impressive. And I know it was even better than it was the year before. And I couldn't believe how much the numbers had climbed. I know you didn't have to fight them off at the door, but the numbers had
Yes.
climbed like significantly. And it was amazing to me to watch how people, especially I think I was really impressed with the women in the pool business. So shout out to all of our girls out there.
Cool girls.
I mean,
Woo.
man, they really upped their game. They looked stunning. Everybody looked beautiful. These are good, powerful, hardworking women, and I just can't help but respect that. And so it was just really awesome to see. And then the men looked amazing, and I think what I just walked away from was that camaraderie in the room. Because the thing that stood out to me from the beginning when Edgar got into this, I thought the pool business was just some ugly business. Everybody was so mean to each other. It was
Yeah.
the hate that was going on with online and just comments and negative and nasty. And I told him, I said, "Do you really want to be in this? Like everything you open up, everybody's just being hateful and nasty." And now here we are, this far down the path. It has changed significantly. And again, as an outsider watching it, I'm amazed at how much it has changed. Where people are just really getting together and working together and supporting each other, and everybody's better for it.
It's
Like
amazing.
all these companies that were competing, and they're all better for it. They're all better for just really pushing this industry that's so important, pushing it forward together instead of everybody trying to work against each other. And that to me has been one of the biggest transformations that I've seen since Edgar first got into this, was just that change in all that negative garbage that was, because I didn't think that, that's just not his style anyway. So I'm like, this doesn't look like it's a good fit for you, because he's not that negative, nasty person. And, it's nice to watch everybody just come together and make it change and not get into that cesspool.
For sure.
No pun
I have
intended.
two thoughts to add to that. So I remember you talk about it being like nasty and
Yeah.
very competitive, but not in a good way. Like I remember when I first started working for Zach and we were looking at pricing, and this is back in the day when they started, they would get a job and an estimate and they would call SCP for price on every single item. Like there was no like, oh, let's just throw $30 on it or whatever. Like there was no like rhyme or reason to it. But I'm like, how much is everybody else charging for heaters? Like, are we charging enough? And I remember like doing kind of sneaky, calling from my cell phone, like all the companies around and seeing like, how much do you charge for a heater? Because there was no like community where you could go on and ask people what they're charging or what their prices are to know if you're like in range or too cheap or too expensive. So I remember that. And that is a huge change now, like people openly talking about their pricing and what they're charging and why they're charging that, So
Yeah.
that is really cool. But we were sitting there and we had our guy Max with us. And I'm like, I really wish we could bring the whole team and everybody, because it's kind
wouldn't
of
that be
like
great?
seeing the
Yeah.
industry. Like you're
Yeah.
a part of it, but you don't realize what you're a part of, and it would just open their eyes to, just not necessarily just the importance of their job, but how big the industry is. And most of the people in there started, at the bottom, and they all have gone different directions and are doing different things, and marketing or, just being a representative or working closely with the companies, just there's so many different avenues that they could pursue, and they're just unaware of it, and I think the majority of the industry is unaware of it. That's all.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's my piece.
No, and I think so. I think it's such a great industry, and there's so many amazing people in the industry, that it's just absolutely amazing. So, Janie, you've obviously been a supporter of everything Pool Nation. So now I'm starting to realize that it's more Janie than it is John. I think I owe a lot more street cred to Janie than I do John.
Well, and by the way, so now's a good time to mention Janie is an award holder.
How did we
she
not?
has an award. John doesn't have an
I
award.
do.
Janie has an award.
She received a major award.
She
Right.
did.
So we totally needed to bring that up.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Now,
Look at
now
his
you know
face.
more than ever why she deserved it, right? Because she's the one behind it. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here.
That makes complete total sense. So I have some other questions for you, but I'm going to backtrack here for Janie and put Janie on the spot here,
God.
John. So we did the awards. We did the Zach, John, and Edgar Award because we don't get to nominate. We don't get to vote and all that kind of stuff. And I told the boys, I said, hey, I want to do the first one. They're both like, okay, sure. I'm like, you're not going to ask? No. So we decided to give that first award to Janie because obviously she'd be somebody that we would want to nominate for Pool Girl of the Year, right? But if she won it, holy cow, right? So we gave her the first Zach, John, and Edgar Award. And so what did that feel like getting up on stage to first of all being blindsided because my biggest fear was that
God.
she was going to punch me on stage. So
Your
So-
biggest fear
She
should
was
have been
thinking about
what
it.
it was.
Yeah.
She's in the bathroom.
so
She
tell
was
us,
just like, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. She was like working herself up and getting freaked out over there too.
All the way to my chair. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
so tell everybody the story.
Oh, you put me on the spot. See, now I'm
Yes.
nervous.
So backtrack and tell everybody the story about where you were in the bathroom and then
Okay.
bring us all the way through the
Okay, so we're sitting in the front. So I'm sitting there and we're, I don't know, 30 minutes into the awards? More than that?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, since we sat down, it was a while, and I'm like, oh, shit, I have to pee. I'm sitting there like, I don't want to get up because you're in the front, so everyone's going to see you stand up and walk out of the room. And then I don't want to be rude and leave the awards and then, move the attention from the awards. So I'm like waiting as long as I can. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait anymore. So I was trying to pick a good time to make my exit. So I ended up going out, and then the bathroom, of course, was like far away. Come back, run into Leslie at the door, and I'm like, oh, hey, da-da-da-da.
I was in the same thing. I needed to go
Yeah.
too, and Janie went. So I was like, "Well, she's going. I'm going.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay."
And I'm like, and she found a closer bathroom, and I'm like, oh, I just walked over here. But anyway, we're at the door, and then Zach's head popped through, and we're like, what the hell are you doing here? And he's like, I need you to come inside. I think he said, Leslie, I'm going to need you or something.
I knew what was going on, and like I had. He let me in on that information. I was privy to that information. So I was like, "Oh, you need to go sit down, like now."
So I'm sitting there going like, oh, shit, Leslie, you're going to be going up on stage. And I'm like, oh, he got you. And I'm walking in, and then here I hear Edgar up there speaking, 60 pools, 4 kids. And I'm just like, oh, my God.
That sounds like me.
I'm like, oh, my God, he's talking about me. He's talking about me. And I'm like hyperventilating, walking to my seat. Oh, but no, actually, before I realized that you were talking about me, I was seeing the people that I was walking by at the tables, and they were all giving me this like big smile. And I'm like, why are they looking at me like that? And I'm walking in, and then I caught on to what you're talking about, and I'm like, oh my God, that's why they're looking at me like that. He's talking about me. So I just quietly freaked out all the way to my seat and sat there and psyched myself up for having to walk up there, and it was absolutely terrifying. So that was an experience. And then I got up there, said what I said, and then when I made it back to my seat, I couldn't remember a thing that I said. And I was just like, I hope I said thank you. God, I hope I said thank you.
It's too funny.
So first of all, your reaction to it, and we have a picture, so go to the website poolnationawards.com. It's the first picture there, but the reaction is just completely genuine, right, John? I mean,
For
it's
sure.
it's just gold.
I had
And-
no idea.
And I kept trying to prep you a little bit because I kept saying, oh, I'm going to have you come and present a category. And what I was trying to do is kind of give you a little bit of a preparedness so you wouldn't freak out. So you would have gone, oh, well, he kept teasing me that I was going to go present, so I didn't have to present, but now I got to go talk for the award. So that was my mental.
And I double checked with John. I go, I'm not in the script, right? I don't really have to say anything, do I?
Yeah,
Are
I
you
don't
sure?
think your trick worked, Edgar.
And he's
It
like,
didn't
no.
work.
Yeah, he's like, no, you're good. I'm like, okay.
John said no?
He said no.
Wow.
Did you tell him your plan?
Yes, he knew my
Did
plan
you tell
all
him
along.
you were trying to get ready, but not get ready?
Yes, I absolutely did. We had the conversation, which I was like,
John's like, I don't know what he's talking about. You're not on there.
Yeah, he's like, no, you're good. You're good.
You're good.
Yeah, but now it makes
I
sense.
just didn't want to hear it anymore. He kept going.
I was freaking out.
Am I on there? Am I going to be on there? I'm like, no, you're fine. You're good.
Just let him be
asking.
surprised. She'll be good.
Now, I do have to tell you this, Leslie. I did tell Zach about it. I said, hey, because I wasn't going to tell them at all. And then I thought, oh, my God, that's probably a bad idea not to let them both know. So I figured I'd go to Zach first. And I'm like, hey, Zach, here's my idea. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you better tell John. like you better tell John. John's going to be pissed if he doesn't find out. And all of a sudden he's just blindsided on the whole thing. He's going to be mad. So he freaked me out. So I went to John and I'm like, hey, John,
Yeah, well, he told me, and that's why when he came out, because I think we were standing there talking to somebody or something, like when we had gone to the restroom. And he comes out and he's like, I need you at your seats. And I was like, oh, it's time. I was like, oh, they're looking for Janie. I was like, oh, this is a disaster. Now.
Look, you don't know what happened prior to that. We're up on stage, and look, if anybody goes back and watches a video, Zach was amazing. He looks like the bodyguard. He looked like a Secret Service agent up there.
He
right?
did.
All sitting there, hands crossed like this, standing like right next to me the whole time while I'm doing like making sure nobody's gonna snipe me from the corner or anything. And I'm going and I'm doing my thing, talking, and then Zach comes up to me like he'll come up and goes, Janie's not in her seat. And I'm like, what? And then I look over and I see it and I go, right before we start that portion of the awards, and if you watch the video, I don't know if the camera was on me, but I mouthed some pretty choice words up there on there. I'm like, are you kidding me, Janie? You know what I mean? He's like, should I go get her? And I go, yes. He runs off, and that's when he finds you guys. But I was just like, oh my God. And then Edgar's up there going, holy smokes, what am I going to talk about right now?
One minute that we needed to be there. We were not there.
But and the truth was, it was only like 30 seconds really of a gap. But it felt when you're up there in front of 300 people, right? And you're kind of like, holy shit, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, right now I gotta, we gotta improvise here and we gotta figure this out. I was at the point where I was like, okay, well, at least it's Edgar's turn to start talking up front, so I'm cool. I'm gonna assume Zach's role.
No problem.
I think it's so funny that all along Janie's like, oh, they're putting Leslie up there. She's gonna get it.
I was
Ooh,
like,
she's gonna have to go up.
Shit.
And all along, Leslie's like, yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Panic for me, but you're going. I
Yeah.
love it.
Like, yay, Janie, go up there.
Yeah.
Go get him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So-
I'll
awesome.
be right here at the table.
John, little sidebar while they're talking over there. So Leslie will have her on next year on the stage, right?
No.
Oh, for sure.
We'll have her for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will disappear. Like, where did Leslie go?
Leslie, what about if we had Captain America escort you up on stage? I think
Right.
that would
Might
be,
have to be it then.
that might be it, right?
Well,
We can upgrade you to Thor, maybe. I think that might be.
We'll have
That
Thor,
was great.
Thor on one arm.
Thor-
and
there
then-
you go.
and Captain America on the
There
other
you
side,
go.
right there. What do you think,
there
John?
You go.
perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We are not staying at the Strip next year in a casino. That was terrible. Don't recommend it. to
Yeah,
anybody.
don't get Edgar started. He tried to talk Zach out of that.
Yeah.
Well,
Look
yeah,
at
it
his
was my
face.
first time, and
No.
it connected to the tram, and
No.
we thought it would be like this
All
great
bad.
thing. It was all bad.
All bad.
So all I'm gonna say is I know that you're listening, Zach. I told you so, buddy. And he came over. So first we stayed at the Conrad the first night, and that's a really nice hotel, right? It's a
That was
5-star
nice.
hotel. It's a
Yeah.
really nice hotel. And then from there we moved over to
The Motel 60.
no, that was a Super 8. so we moved over to the Hilton Grand
Thank you.
Vacation because the rooms were bigger, right? And we were
Perfect.
going to be there, so kitchen and all that kind of space. And so Zach comes to me and he goes, "Oh, well, when you were talking about it, I just thought it was some other Hilton." And I'm like, I kept telling him, I go,
And look,
Zach, you're
look-
going to be on the other side of the Strip. And he's like, well, I'm going to take a tram. I already thought it out. I already looked it up. I go,
Mhm.
Zach, we're all going to be together over on this side. And he was just adamant. So I just kind of went,
Does he
Look,
forget
okay.
that you came from the
Look,
hotel
hold on. Let me
industry?
say something here.
Yeah.
Not just that. Let me give kudos to Hilton because
Thank you.
Because see what I mean? And look, this is going to prove my point here because they instilled such a passion, right? And such a love for that company into these two right here. It's unbelievable because if you say anything against Hilton, it's like, shh. And how long has it been since you guys have worked there, right? And it's just like, oh, how dare you? It's like you're insulting my children. Because we're Marriott type, right? And we have Marriott points and we kind of do that. And it's like, Edgar's like, no, Hilton. And anytime you say anything, and I can picture Edgar's face when Zach said, "Oh, we're not going to stay at the Hilton, another Hilton or something like that." Edgar was like,
But
am I right or wrong?
No, you're right.
I mean, you take it personal.
And I've worked for Hilton, I worked for Marriott, I worked for investors that had all different kind of brand hotels and stuff like that. And I'm loyal to the Hilton thing. And it might have been that just it was so many years ago that it was corporate. It was still very small. So we used to go to the corporate office. It's very different, but it's a great brand. But I did tell Zach, I'm going to take care of the reservations. I'm going to take care of the accommodations. John didn't have to worry about any of that part. And he was just like, he had a master plan. So I felt bad kind of going, no, you don't, trashing him and telling him, no, don't do that. Yeah. So
it may have been my fault a little bit because he was talking about the tram. I was like, well, I'm going to need something that I feel comfortable. I can just hop on and go. Because when there's a show going on, Zach is like, it opens at 10 a.m. I need to be there when the doors open. I'm going to be there until the doors close. Like there's classes. Like I'm going to be doing this. And I'm like, hold up. Like I'm not going to be there at 7:00 in the morning. Yeah. And I'm going to be there all day long. Like,
he's like, time out.
I'm going to need like a way to get back and forth like easily. And he's like, well, there's the tram and it connects to this hotel. I'm like, let's do that. That sounds great. It was not great.
I do have to say though, you guys had Max there and Max's first time ever in Vegas. So from that standpoint, it was the right place to be because you want him to be in the middle of the mayhem and the craziness and the experience.
Yeah.
So if he would have stayed where we were at, which is off the strip, it's not off the strip, it's on the strip, but it's towards the end. There's no casino there. He wouldn't have gotten that whole Las Vegas vibe.
And it was my first time too. And that was cool for like a day. But if you're like, okay, now I know my way around this massive casino on all levels. Like you've been there too long. Like it's just
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely. So before we go to a break, we're going to take a break here in just a second. I do want to go online out here and
Double break.
I want to give some shout outs out here. Maria from Ensenada Pools. Our boy Zach is listening. So Zach, do me a favor, type on here and tell us how what is it? Christmas Wonderland is going on? Winter Wonderland. Tell us how that's going, Zach. Give us an update out there, Mr. Matt Man. Big shout out, Jeanette, Lindsay. Big shout out to all you guys. And Lindsay is saying she agrees she's not going to stay on the strip again. So big shout out there to everybody. So. Everybody listening, we're going to take a quick break, take a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we will continue with Leanne, Leslie, and Janie. We'll be right back.
The Hyper Pole from Ultimate Pool Tools is a pool care pole designed by pool professionals for pool professionals, featuring precision-crafted carbon fiber and stainless steel construction. Go to ultimatepooltools.com or Instagram at Ultimate Pool Tools. Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add reoccurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. Today, we're talking to the ladies behind Pool Nation. We're talking to Leanne. We're talking to Leslie. We're talking to Janie, kind of getting their stories. And I think we're getting them. I think we're getting them to confess, John. The truth,
Right.
The truths are coming out, and that's kind of a good thing for us to know the truth behind it.
Look, I'm just trying to figure out. You're like huffing and puffing right now. You just, what'd you,
He was sprinting through the halls,
He was.
through this room.
There's that gym over to the left, right?
Oh,
When
yeah,
you walk through the hall, he was already on the treadmill. I don't know. He was using that hamstring machine.
Yep, Zach would be proud of me.
He was.
Yeah, he would be out there. So, anyways, ladies, as we continue the conversation, so we've talked a little bit about the Instagram Lives. We've talked about the podcast.
Yeah. Well,
Speaking of Instagram Lives, have you gone? Sorry, was that loud?
No.
No.
All of a sudden, have you gone back and watched your first ones that you ever did?
Ooh, good
You
question.
should do like a I don't know. I'm gonna totally mess this up. Like a memory reel or something of like all your first moments.
Yeah,
Right.
that's good.
I went back and watched them, I don't know, probably about a month or so ago. And just watching the very first one where you can see that you're a little nervous and you don't quite have the pep in your step that you do now. And then just watching a few of them, and it's quite interesting to see the evolution of the Edgar intro.
Well, but it's not just Edgar, right? Because John too, and Zach, right? They both changed a lot.
No, definitely. I do have a question for Leanne though.
Yes, ma'am.
So everybody talks about, like the evolution of this and stuff, but this has taken a lot of time. Like Edgar puts a lot of time into this, like the editing.
You
and
have no
the
idea.
promoting. That's what has been your thoughts all along? Because it's not, he is suddenly putting in a lot of time. He's had to have put a lot of time into this, for the past 2 years before it got big and before he had all of his followers. Were you kind of like, okay, let's move on to your next hobby?
We have
things
to do.
My next hobby. Did you see that? She called it.
You don't know how many times Zach has got mad at me for being like, okay, babe, it's a hobby. Yes, I have said it. I will
It is
admit
confession
I have
time.
Yes.
Do you need to do that Catholic thing that you do? Because I feel like there's some confessions going on here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, Leslie, and I think that's an awesome question. At first, it was taking some time, but a lot of that time was spent with him doing research, right? Like how to work some of the equipment and how to, what's the good, format for podcasts and just things like that. Because he was coming in,
You're such a
coming.
good wife.
He was coming in. No, he was coming in really just kind of fresh, but now once he got into like real serious editing and he writes the scripts and he, where he spends a lot of time is on the phones with all of the sponsors and people calling him with questions and things like that. So it does, to say it takes his time, a lot of his time is just a huge, huge understatement.
Right.
So we sort of, I work from home for the most part. I work in the office downstairs. He's always upstairs. He cracks on me all the time because in the pandemic, I took over the office and he got moved upstairs to the media room. But truth be told, his work during the day is in the media room. I mean, in the game room, and then he moves for the podcast and the Instagrams into the media room. So he's got like almost a full upstairs to himself. So I don't, fall into his complaining about me taking over the office anymore. And so
he has more real estate.
He has a lot of real estate, right?
You've
seen it.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Media wing.
Yeah, he does. He's got the media wing up there. So, but we don't see each other throughout the day. So I keep my door shut because I'm on, video calls all day. He's on calls all day. And then he'll usually come down at some point and we both need nourishment. So we'll figure out lunch real quick, right? And then we hurry up and eat and then we separate and go off and do our own things again. So we sort of have this like unwritten agreement that I get one day out of the weekend. I get one day because one of those days is spent editing the podcast. It's a full day that he has to take to do it because it's so much work that has to happen. And then I get either Saturday or Sunday. And usually I'll say, okay, so is it Saturday or Sunday? Which
day do I get?
Which day do I get?
Yeah.
Right. And then I really just squeeze the juice out of him on that day. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go to this store and then we're gonna go do this. And I need this. Remember the honey-do list we talked about that? So I'm like, and I gotta get this done, I gotta get that done. And so he doesn't actually get any real downtime because he really is, he's so invested throughout the week in the time that he spends that I do make him to commit one day to me, but I get one day. And we have teenage kids. They don't need a day. They don't care. They don't
They don't care about you guys anymore.
They don't.
They
It's
don't
crazy.
care.
They don't.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of time invested. If it's not editing, it's conversations, it's calls, it's videos, it's all kinds of things like that. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, Zach had made the comment the other day. He was just doing a live or something, and he's like, he was like having to rearrange his whole day for it. He's like, I can't imagine like what Edgar's having to do. He's like, I'm having to do this just for the live, and I'm just like showing up and speaking. He's like, I don't have to do all the like scheduling and editing and getting the lady that does the voice for the intro and all that stuff. Like it's a lot.
It's a
good job,
lot.
Edgar.
Yeah.
Your hobby has gone far.
It's funny, Leslie, my oldest son was calling it that too.
Yeah.
So how's this hobby going? And and I'm like, stop saying that. Stop saying that.
Them's fighting words.
Right. It's fighting words.
It is.
I just want them to keep talking because I now hear more. Now I hear my son calling it a
like,
hobby. So
you're like, really?
my son's gonna call me one day and my car broke down or whatever, and I can't help you.
busy
I'm
on my
busy on my hobby.
Hobby time.
Hobby time. Yep.
Right.
I'm in the middle of a.
It's definitely moved past the hobby. I'm not allowed to call it that anymore.
Yeah.
Poor Zach.
I love honesty.
I do. I love it too.
absolutely do.
I
He's
absolutely.
probably like, see what I've been having to deal with?
He's over here going LOL because he knows. He knows
It's
it's.
so funny.
I am always honest when John does the Instagram lives by himself, though, and his intro game
Mhm.
is lacking. Severely
You
lacking.
suck at it. Terrible at it.
Jamie, I love
It's
you.
the awkward beginning. He's
I
like,
love you.
welcome, everybody. He's like
Wow.
scrolling and it's kind of quiet, and you're expecting the Edgar, hey, what's up? How's it going, man? And you, hey, big shout out. How's it going? And he's just spitting off all these names, and he's got all this energy. Oh, what's up? We're gonna connect with me after the live, and da 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 da.
But look,
And then
imagine.
John hops on. And he's like, hello, everyone.
All right, let's get to business.
Let's get to these questions. Let's see.
But
So
look,
funny.
no, think of it. If I acted like Edgar, wouldn't that seem completely foreign to you?
Should cut back on your 5-hour
Yes.
energy.
Right. Everybody would look and say, "What is
She's
wrong
like,
with
did you
John?"
tap into the energy drinks that I have not yet given you?
I'd probably fly around the corner and be like, you good?
Yeah.
Well,
But
and
it
it's
is
funny,
funny.
because the honesty, and I know Leslie's honest with Zach too. Like, we have to be honest because, and I've noticed, and Edgar does this with some of the people that he talks to on a regular basis. Like, don't tell me the good stuff, tell me the bad stuff, because
Yeah.
you've got to know so you can grow, right?
Yeah.
So when he comes back from Vegas, he's like, so what did you think of the show? And I said, so next time you got to have the camera closer. And I'm giving him all this feedback. He's like this is giving him the honest feedback.
It's true.
And it was
I mean,
fantastic.
I looked pretty. Like, why is
right, right. But I told him all the good things too. But it's important to know some
Yeah.
of the things, like even the nomination night that we did at Heritage. It was that needed to be a little bit smoother. And so we just for next time, so that you can kind of grow and develop it.
No, but we rely on that, right? And that's the beauty of having
so
amazing
honest
partners.
wives.
Right?
I mean, because who else is going to give you the unfiltered truth and have your your feelings in mind, right? Or nothing but positive things. Like you want it to be better. When Janie tells me something like, hey, look, when I go out there and I tell you how to go, I don't want to hear the fluff and the bullshit, right? I just need to hear and understand it. So, and tell me the truth. And she'll, no, it is. Or maybe then just this, if he did that or did that. And I'm like, okay, because.
Or I told you, you seem a little crabby. You're not as happy as you usually are.
Well, everybody thinks I'm always crabby. So, there's a purpose to this. We're all busy. We all are. And it takes a toll on every one of us, right?
Yeah.
And we work hard. I mean, shit, we bust our ass off 7 days a week working, scrubbing tubs and doing what we need to do. And then we put in effort to this. And I want to make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
I
think for me, like that, I'm sorry.
No,
terrible
not at all.
Zach always gets mad at me.
They've heard enough of me. Trust me. You are a breath of fresh air. Please talk.
For me, it's like seeing like, oh, there's a purpose to this. Like y'all are doing something good, and it's not to like downplay it, but like y'all have made a big impact in the industry. And it isn't just some little podcast or some live that Zach's doing tonight in the garage. It's like, there's like this big like impact that y'all are having on the industry. It's been more cohesive. And I think people are realizing it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to ask what's worked for you, and it's really cool to see. Like we talk about like where we think of where it's gone. Like, what do y'all think as the hosts of this podcast? What do y'all think of where it's gone and where it's going? Like y'all are doing all this training now. Like, I hope y'all have y'all's big boy pants on. Like, it's just like the real deal now. It's not like some little, let's get together and talk shop, guys.
I know. My favorite part is when people come up to you guys and like, oh, you guys have helped me so much. You've really changed my business and I couldn't have done this without you. And then people are just so grateful to have the help. And I think that's probably why I'm such a big fan and why I can appreciate it. And I can see that it was going to be a big thing because when we started, trying to find help or answers or anyone to give you any type of information was non-existent. So when they started, I was like, this is needed. This is going to be fantastic. This is going to be huge. And I was just like, yes, please do this now. Because
Janie's like the picture of a supportive wife. And I'm over here like, okay, babe, whatever.
Well, it's funny because when Edgar got started in the pool business, again, me being my quiet skeptic that I was at the time, that's exactly what he needed. He needed to have resources that he could go to and say, how do you do this? Or what's the best way to do that? And, I didn't tell this part of the story earlier on, but when he first got into the pool business, I wasn't sure it was the right industry either because some of the people that were trying to teach him were trying to do things a little bit less credible than
right.
It wasn't credible, right? Like they would want to cheat and mark things up like exorbitantly. And it was just, and I looked at Edgar and I said, that's not you. How are you going to, you can't do that. Like, that's not how you are. And he knew he wasn't that way. And he knew from the beginning easily that he was not going to be able to do it that way. He'd find a better path to do it the right way, ethically, where he could feel good and sleep good at night and not think he's ripping people off.
Well, there's 15 different ways or more to do the same thing. And the easy way, the shitty way, the I'm going to rip you off way, and the right way.
Yeah. And so it was a little bit scary for me in the beginning, thinking, people are taking him under his wing in the beginning, and they were being a little, unscrupulous about what they were doing. And I just knew that wouldn't fit with who he was. Yeah. And so he just found the right way to do it the right way and not have to fall into that, negative, dirty, steely kind of trap. So he always finds a way to do it the right way. And I like that because, again, then when he started doing the podcast and stuff and everybody was kind of unseedy and, bitey with everybody, I thought, you're not going to like that. And then it's nice to see.
You don't like those people.
Yeah, it's to Leslie's point, they've made a really good impact and they've made a change where people can know where to go and answer, can get questions answered and can, be in this together and not against each other. So I think everybody has a chance to get a lot further along, a lot easier when they're not fighting upstream battles.
So. And then even like the sponsors
to ask a question.
And everyone who's involved with the podcast are just great people.
Yeah.
They're just
Absolutely.
they're amazing people. And I think, I think a lot of it, not a lot of it, I think the key to the success has been the friendship. That is like number one. Two is that we can be completely honest, and we're always talking about, give me constructive feedback, right? It's not about who came up with the idea and I did, and we're all together. This is all one, and nobody takes more credit than the other person. We're all in this together. It's a one thing. But the ability for us to sit there and say, for me to say, hey, John, what did you think? And John not be afraid to tippy-toe around and go, hey, you did this, you said this, that wasn't right, or that's not the tone that we want to put, or whatever it is, and vice versa, right? And it's all three of us. It's not just like me and John or me and Zach or them two. It's that we have that open relationship to really just kind of, without hurting anybody's feelings, it's just like, hey, here's where we're at. Here's what we need to do. Here's how we need to accomplish it. And
You're just real.
And just that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, just being ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm not doing it on purpose, John. I promise.
oh no.
Zach
Your
said, Leslie, don't let John talk.
Look, right, he talks enough. Right? Trust me, no rants. We're on a time limit here, right? We have how many hours at the studio we booked? And we need to stay to it. Look, all I was going to say is I agree 100%. And the reason, I remember our conversation at the beginning too, and I said, look, whatever we do, my goal, my purpose is that I want to better this industry because I'm a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I see a lot of opportunity, and I know that if we can somehow change the course of this ship, right, even if it's just by a little bit, and we move it in a better direction, I'm in this for the long run, and it's gonna better all of us. But what's important to me is that I stay true, and we stay true as a trio on this podcast, on the lives, everything we say and do. We do not change, who we are and what we want to talk about based off of, politics or whatever. And I got to say, I mean, that's the same reason. I mean, that's the reason why we're still doing this right now. Right. And I think the reason why I think people are receptive to what we're doing is because they truly believe, and they can see that, what we talk about here is from the heart. Right. And it's not the BS trying to push an agenda here or there. It's seriously, and it's hard for some people to grasp and understand that our goal is to really better the industry. And why? Well, because we're a part of the industry. And if we're a part of a better industry, then we all get to benefit from it, right? We want to thrive and not just survive like we've been doing over the years. And we know how tough it was when we first started, and how hard it was to get the right question answered, right? Or get the right answer to that question. And and to me, I feel blessed, and like what you said, Edgar, when it comes down to like the friendships, it just can all burn. How many times we said that, right? And
We
you
say
said,
it all the time.
I go, look, I don't give a shit. We can burn this Pool Nation to the ground. I don't care. We're gonna run it till the wheels fall off, and we're gonna do what we need to do and the way we want to do it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we're gonna give it our best, right?
You're still our favorite Texans.
We're not giving up. And we're just gonna do it, and we're gonna ride it till the wheels fall off, right? Because we believe in it, and we're gonna burn it to the ground. But at the end of the day, we still know that we've built this friendship, right? That will last a lifetime.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very well said.
And here's the other thing, and I'll just throw it out there. And again, in everything that you do, and I talked about it at the awards, you're going to have people that believe in you, and you're going to have people that don't believe in your vision and what it is that you want to do, and that's okay, right? I mean, to us, it's just we know what it is that we want to accomplish. We've set our goals, and it's grown, right, John? Because when we originally started the podcast, it was just the pool pros wanted that, but we, over the course, our mission has completely changed, and really we're just getting started. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be putting out next year and kind of moving forward. But I think the big thing is exactly that, is really being able to give the pool pros that space to be able to ask the questions and not feel that somebody's going to treat them as an idiot, right? Because I've been there. I've asked the very stupid questions that nobody
You still ask
around
him.
I still ask him. but that's the
Just
point.
off camera.
but that's the point. We want to give them that safe space, and I think that's the other thing that the pool pros are looking for, because you start in business by yourself. You don't have all the answers. There's just no way that you're going to have all the answers, and like everything, business changes, and friendships change, and all that kind of stuff. And so being able to have that space that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
I think that's what attracts a lot of the people.
For sure.
Because even when you go to training, that the manufacturers put on and you're in a class with all of these people, nobody wants to ask any questions, especially being a female. Like, God forbid you raise your hand and ask a question, because they're all going to look at you like, what the hell are you doing here? But even the men don't say anything because they don't want to be looked at, or someone will ask a question and you'll hear like little comments in the background, like, you know what I mean? And just giving them shit for not knowing. And it's just intimidating. So usually you'll see people like after the class, they'll go up and like ask a silent question, to whoever was teaching the class, because they don't want to,
Yeah. But also, if you do ask a question in that environment, you get one answer. You get one answer from one person that's done things one
Good
way.
point.
Like just speaking to the three of you, that's 3 answers from 3 different point of views, from companies ran 3 different ways. And then you have all the people in the comments that are going to have an opinion.
That's my
So,
favorite part. The 3 different. Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it the same way. Every company's different. Every situation is different. So it's absolutely invaluable to get as many different answers. Oh my God, I get so mad at Zach all the time. He'll ask me a question and I'll give him an answer. And of course, my answer is the best answer. So he's going to go ask every single person he can think of. And he may come back to me, or he'll be like, well, so-and-so said to do it this way. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I said to do it the same way. And he's like, he's like, I have to ask as many people as I can. Like, I don't know what's going to be the best answer. And I'm like, well, I know what's going to be the best. But like, that's how he is. That's just the way he operates. He's going to talk about it till he's blue in the face, and he's absolutely certain he's exhausted every avenue and gotten, the best answers and the best feedback that he can. And I think that is something that maybe y'all didn't set out to provide, but is something that is just absolutely, I'm going to say invaluable again, because I just don't get to say it very often, but that's just something invaluable that y'all provide to the industry.
And then someone can make an educated decision based on
different opinions. That is exactly what we're trying to accomplish, right? And it is music to our ears, and it makes everything worth it to hear that, right? And we hear it time and time again. Like Janie talks about it, we go to the shows and it's still a little weird talking to some people that you've never met before, and they come up and they start saying, but when they give you a story, a real life story, and say, hey, look, you actually had an impact, right? You've changed
my business
the way, and we are able to do this or do that or do this right now. And it's just like, well, dude, not me, kudos to you for listening, right? And then putting it into action, because, words are only words until you do something with it. And I look at it with me, like, there's not always the right answer, right? But with the 3 of us and with the people that are involved, that participate, right? We all have our opinions. I kind of look at it as like, hey, look, we might not be the only way or the right way, but if anything, we're guardrails, right? And we keep you on track, and you can keeps you from those, those pitfalls and, running off the road and going in the wrong direction, and the things that we've accomplished and we've had to struggle and go through, growing through this industry, right? That how great would it be that, hey, if you had somebody in somewhat of a playbook and said, these are some guidelines, and if you follow this is our experience, and then this is what you can accomplish with it. And at the end of the day, it's what they do with it, and it's pretty awesome. It's humbling, I can say.
Humbling.
It's very humbling to hear those those people say those things, and especially you hearing it from you. Like, I get uncomfortable when people say things about me, and so does Edgar.
He does.
And we were reading this, what we were talking about here, and I told Edgar, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a weird podcast. And I'm thinking, I don't want to hear this, but it's nice to hear, right?
Yeah.
It really is, and it's not to say, oh my God, we're the best at this, we're that. We're not. We're still learning every single day. It's just nice that we get to talk about what we love. Right, and it's really, really, really humbling to hear and see the stories of people's successes because of a little part that we might have helped them with.
I think I
Absolutely.
told you guys that in the beginning that you were absolutely horrible at taking compliments.
You did. You did, and I want you to know that you've changed me forever in my life because every time that now somebody tries to pay me a compliment, I'm thinking, what would Janie think? What would Janie think? What would Janie think?
Because
Right?
you all just kind of like,
Yeah.
like, okay, you know what I mean? Like,
And I remember,
funny.
I remember after that podcast, you called and you said you guys were terrible. That just was wrong, and you were disrespectful, and that you guys have got to learn to do that. But again, as we go along, we kind of learn along the way. But that's how we learn, right? We take the constructive feedback, like we talk about it, right? It's not the negative, but we all need that constructive feedback.
yeah.
All right, ladies, let's do this. We are getting towards the end of the podcast here, so we're going to take our final words from our sponsors. John, I am going to put the girls on the spot today, and this part was not on the script. Normally, I go and I say, John, Zach, let me get your final thoughts. So when we come back from the word from our sponsors, we're going to get the ladies' final thoughts.
Yep.
We'll be right back.
The Hyper Pole from Ultimate Pool Tools is a pool care pole designed by pool professionals for pool professionals, featuring precision-crafted carbon fiber and stainless steel construction. Go to ultimatepooltools.com or Instagram at Ultimate Pool Tools. Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add reoccurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double-locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. We are talking to Leanne. We're talking to Leslie. And we were talking to Janie and John, but I'm gonna blame John on this one because John does it every single time. He just kind of steps off and he walks away and he's gone, you know. So so I'm gonna blame John on the fact that he kind of kept Janie out. So I'm throwing you under the bus, John, because you had to go out and we're sitting here. Let's welcome him back. Yay! Thank you for coming back, John.
Thank you. My timing is off in Texas because I got it down packed when we're
back home, right?
Home.
Right. So, anyways, everybody, we are back. We have a couple minutes left. We were going to do final thoughts for John, but we're going to throw it around. So, ladies, final thoughts. Who wants to give me some final thoughts? Any volunteers, or should I go at it?
I could just real quick.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Leslie.
Just from being not like the strongest supporter of the podcast and the things that y'all are trying to accomplish, I'm very proud of you guys. Like, I'm very, very proud of what y'all have accomplished. And it's really cool to get to go to the shows and see the people that are just afraid to come talk to you guys. You're like, oh, I don't want to bug them. I just wanted to say hi. I'm, a huge fan of the show, and then hear them open up about their successes and what they've accomplished and how you've impacted their lives. And it's really fun to get to watch. And I feel privileged to have been able to just from the sidelines back here, watch you guys just evolve into what y'all have come to be.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not sure how that ended, but that's
well said.
That's my thought.
Well said.
Very well said.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nice job. I know Janie's nervous, so I'll go next. We'll let Janie bring it up the back and the rear there and finish us off,
She's literally-
Janie. So I think similar to what Leslie's saying, I'm very, very proud of everything that you guys have accomplished. And I think that one of the things that stands out, because there's so many things that stand out, but I loved when you guys decided to start putting some emphasis on some of the women in the industry. Because, I have a human resource background, and we're always working towards making sure that we're being, equal for women and minorities and things like that. And I just love to see, I was surprised actually to see how many women are in the industry. And then once there was a place for them to come forward and meet each other and learn from each other and really build each other up. And I loved seeing that you guys were able to give them sort of that platform. So I really love seeing that part. But for me, I think, and again, I'm not in the industry, so just knowing what I know about the industry and how much you guys have done for it, I echo Leslie's words of, I'm just really proud of you guys. For me, my favorite part of all of it is just the great friendships that have come out of it, right? Because, it's so fun to see how often, which we should start keeping track, ladies, how often John and Zach and Edgar are on the phone with each other all day long.
Right.
Like
into the night.
It's all day into the night. And I'll be doing something and I'll be like, Edgar, and he's not paying attention. And he's like, I'm on call with John. I go, again? You need to leave the poor man alone. But they're on these calls and just like the friendships that have formed is just really impressive. And, it's nice to see that, it just started with one thing and it just really has grown into so many things for so many people. And to John's point earlier, there's a lot of time and effort and work that go into that, right? So building your business takes a lot of time and effort. Building this has take time and effort, and the same thing with the friendship. So it's just really impressive to see everything that's kind of come to fruition over the time frame. So it's nice to see.
It is definitely nonstop. I mean, like John, he's doing his route, he's doing this, he's doing installs, then half the time he's on the phone answering questions, taking phone calls, talking to Zach and Edgar.
And again, talking to Zach and Edgar.
Zach and Edgar.
Let's start the day that way and end the night that way. Talking to Zach and Edgar.
Or he's
guys.
Yeah. Talking to pool pros, and he's on the phone, he's walking people through heater troubleshooting, installing automation, and he's just, as he's driving or as he's working, and he's just able to just spit off all this information. Okay, find this. Okay, check the breaker. Okay, go over there. Open this piece up. Do you have this part? Do you have your multimeter? Do you have a manometer? He's like, you have all this stuff, and it just blows my mind because he's just effortlessly walking people through this without seeing it, just in the middle of doing 1,000,001 other things. And I know he just lights up when he's helping people and he's able to problem solve and he's just, I don't know how to put it into words. I'm not as good as you ladies, but it's just a joy to watch. Or when he's going on his rants, which is my favorite part, by the way, when he goes off on his rants, because he's like, it's like listening to a preacher where you're just like, yes, love it, yes, like keep going. And like in his previous life, when he would, like teach employees and do his business training and everything, I never got to see that. I was always, at home, and he would tell me about it, but I never actually got to see him in action. So in the very beginning, I was just like captivated, like listening, and it was just like there's so much passion.
Look at my husband.
Yeah, it was like I was like, I like this. I love listening to you. And he
She
just
likes you,
has.
John.
Are you
She
trying
does.
to seduce me?
She
I
likes
think
you.
Is
she's
it working?
I think
It's
she's
working.
cupcaking a little
Yeah.
bit.
It's working.
No, but I would just listen to it like, this is amazing. And there was just so much passion and just a want to just help people and better people and just bring everything up. And it's just like, usually when I'm done listening, I'm like pumped. I'm like, let's go do this. Like, let's get to work. I'm going to go do this. We're going to go install this stuff. And you just like, it just pumps me up just to, I don't know, just to feel the passion of everything and all the work that's gone into it. And it's just, it's amazing. I'm just in awe all the time of what you guys have put together and how much people you're helping.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. See, I'm thinking, oh my God, am I saying the right thing to give her
Right.
back because she will,
Right.
you know, so thank you.
You're welcome. You're very
we
welcome.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Good job, Edgar.
so I will give you our final thoughts here because we're kind of closing. So first of all, Zach and John, obviously there's a brotherhood, and I definitely could not do this without you guys. This is all of us together doing all this. But at the same time, thank you, John. Thank you, Zach. I want to thank my wife, Leanne, Leslie, Janie, because in order for this to be able to succeed, we've had to have you guys behind us, either, rooting for us or allowing us to do what it is that we want to do, because we've been doing this for 2 years and it's all, like John says, a work out of the heart, because we haven't made any money out of it. We haven't done any of that. It's all been that passion project that we've been doing. But without your guys' support, we wouldn't be able to do this, because we could be trying to do this, but yet if we have wives that are coming behind us, why are you doing that? You're wasting your time. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be focusing on other things. That I think would tear us down to the goal of what it is that we want to do. And without you guys having the support, and I know that Leslie, you've told Zach, if this is your passion, if this is what you want to do, go ahead and do it. I know that Leanne is very supportive with me from that standpoint. And I love that you've gotten now to the point that you will give me that constructive feedback. Because at the beginning, it was like, I really kind of don't know. I'm really not that involved, but I really respect your opinion, your feedback, because I know it's going to be feedback that's going to help us grow. And you, Janie, you've just absolutely been amazing. And today the truth came out that you're really kind of the one pushing John behind everything. But you ladies need to understand that we really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts, all the support that you give us to be able to do something that we're so passionate about. So thank you.
I think Leslie and I are going to be the referees, and then Janie's going to be the cheerleader. I think those are going to be our roles, right?
Zach. He just loves this. And I'm just like, he's like, did you listen? I'm like, I heard like 5 minutes of it. Good. That was good.
By the way, Leslie, just in case Zach doesn't tell you everything, the last time he came out, we're like, you need to bring Leslie. And he's like, yeah, but she's got the kids. I'm like, bring the kids. I got plenty of teenagers in my house to help out with the kids. We got to go have adult date nights and go out and have a good time.
We need to have an adult date night.
do.
I will say my favorite part of the Vegas trip was running from grocery store to grocery store looking for flowers.
Centerpieces.
That was fun. That was fun.
That was amazing. So you do have to promise us, Leslie, on the podcast that you will kind of come out and hang out with us more often, because you are a hoot. We really enjoy having you together. So
yes, you're awesome.
Anyways, for everybody that's listening live, Lindsay, big shout out to you out there, Mr. Metman. We appreciate it. Michael, First Response, thanks for coming back on. Maria, Jeanette, big shout out to all you guys out there. And everybody listening, John and I will see you next Wednesday on the Instagram Live. Or no, you won't be there.
No, I'll be there.
You'll be there. I know you will. That's the thing I love about you, John. I'm like, John, I got this idea. And you're like, my parachute is on. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get it. So anyways, everybody have a great evening. Have the rest of the great weekend. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Pool Nation podcast, a member of the Pool Nation family. You can listen to us live every Friday here at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You can find us at Pool Nation or poolnationpodcast.com, on Facebook, or on Instagram at pool.nation. And to find more info about Pool Invoice, the billing software built specifically for the pool industry, go to poolinvoice.com. Before you go, this is what the pool industry has been waiting for. PoolmanUniversity.com. It's the first platform dedicated to learning the swimming pool service and repair industry. A pool service community where you can connect and find videos on business, service, water chemistry, and repairs. See you there at PoolmanUniversity.com.